Welcome back to the 9th Gym program, and today we are continuing the restricted guide series with Dialga. Dialga is a pretty cool Pokemon. Steel Dragon is a very strong typing, having a huge amount of resistances. What is that, 9? Yeah, 9. And then 1 immunity and 2 weaknesses of fighting and ground. An amazing typing, honestly. Just 2 regular weaknesses at two times is very easy to dodge and get through, so that's good. The Pokemon is good overall. It does have 2 pretty medium abilities. It has Telepathy, which makes it so it doesn't take damage from your own teammates in double and triple battles. The triple battles is super relevant, guys. Definitely note that. And then you also have Pressure, which just doubles the amount of PP used against you. So it's not that big of a deal. Honestly, neither of them are that good. But sometimes you can't use Telepathy, like if you're using self-proccing weakness policy strats. So then you got to use Pressure, which really puts the pressure on your opponent. It really does. Anyway, so not great abilities, but great typing and pretty good stats here. Looking over these stats, very, very well-rounded Pokemon. 100 HP, 120 defense, and 100 special defense. Very well-rounded in stats, above average on all of those. And then in offense, it has special attack at 150, which is very, very strong. So this Pokemon is doing a lot of damage. And after a weakness policy, whew, the damage is crazy. So yeah, you have a lot of different ways of going about this. And then speed at 90 is pretty good, but not too crazy. You're pretty, being a mid-speed Pokemon at 90 is actually pretty good for this Pokemon because it does have access to Trick Room, and it usually uses Trick Room, even if it isn't going to be using Trick Room in the game. It typically will have it on it because it does turn into Max Guard, which is very good when it Dynamaxes, and this is going to be a Pokemon you Dynamax a lot of the time. So yeah, it's pretty good speed tier to be at. And it even if you max speed, max invest into speed, it's not super slow. I mean, it's on the same speed tier as Groudon and Kyogre, which are commonly, can be very fast. I mean, Kyogre uses Scarf a lot of the time, but still can be fast. Anyway, that is about it for the overview of Dialga. Pretty good Pokemon overall. Let's go ahead and talk about the movesets that I have prepared. So, first off, we have an Adamant Orb set. This could be Life Orb. This could be, a Salt Vest. It could be a berry, a citrus berry, a pinch berry. It could be a weakness berry, any of those kind of things. It's a very customizable set. And as you see here on the right, the customization slots, all of those movesets, all those flex moves, the Pokemon just has such a deep move pool, and it really can be used on so many different teams and with so many different builds. So it's very good and very customizable. As far as this set goes, we went Adamant Orb and Telepathy. You don't really need either of those. Like I said, you can change them, and then you can change Telepathy to Pressure if you want to. But I just went for Telepathy because this build doesn't really get any value out of Pressure, and it doesn't get any unvalue from Telepathy, if that makes any sense. I mean, the next one is weakness policy, so we're not going to use Telepathy, but yeah, for this one, Telepathy. As far as its EV spread goes, I went really, really basic. We are still at the very beginning of the format, so of course these will develop a little bit potentially throughout the format, but for now they're going to be 252 spreads mostly. 252 HP, 252 special attack, and then 4 into special D. Modest nature, 0 attack IVs. Very basic there, being able to just do a lot of damage while being fairly bulky with 252 HP. It is going to be a Dynamax Pokemon most of the time, so the HP investment does not go in vain, so it's very, very good for that. And then as far as the moveset goes, I just went with Dual Stab, Flashkin, and then Dragon Pulse. Earth Power for coverage, and Trick Room to turn into Max Guard, as well as have Trick Room access. So that's about it for Dialga for the first build. It's very basic and straightforward. And for the second one, let's go ahead and talk about it. So Dialga at weakness policy and with Pressure instead of Telepathy, since we are going to be self-proccing weakness policy a lot of the time. Level 50, not going to change that, very normal stuff. And then as far as the EV spreads, it's identical to the last one, which is just 252 HP, 252 special attack, and 4 special defense. However, I did change the nature, making this more of a Trick Room Pokemon, leaning more into Trick Room with Quiet Nature, which is plus special attack and minus speed, and then also IV 0 attack and 0 speed, so that we are min speed, hitting that very, very low speed tier of 90, which is actually pretty solid in this format, since it is a very top-heavy speed format. Trick Room at 90 base speed is actually pretty viable, so pretty good stuff there. As far as the moveset goes, it is going to be a Dynamax almost all the time, so I did go for Roar of Time instead of Dragon Pulse, as it does give us a 150 base power for a very, very strong Max Wormwind Max move, so that's why I changed that. But other than that, it is identical with Flash Cannon, Earth Power, and Trick Room. Trick Room also becoming max guard when you Dynamax, which is very good for this Pokemon, very useful. Now, I'd probably put a Trick Room Pokemon on the team as well, so you don't always have to use Trick Room right off the bat with this Pokemon, because it won't really want to stay on the field and just hit Trick Room and then lose a bunch of HP and then Dynamax the next turn. So maybe something like, a Mungus to, make sure that they hit that instead of Dialga for Trick Room, or just a different Trick Room Pokemon. So, a couple of ideas there. Anyway, these sets are very highly customizable. That's not a word. They're very customizable, which is really interesting because this Pokemon does have a lot of different ways to play. You can use it as a Dynamax sweeper. You can use it as a supportive, bulky Pokemon. Actually, not really a supportive Pokemon, but a bulky Pokemon to the side, which is good, not having to Dynamax very frequently. So, you could use something like a choice item for that. Potentially Choice Band. Even Choice Scarf could be possible as well. But you could also go with the items we have listed here, or Life Orb, or the Assault Vest, like I was saying. Those are all very good options as well. Damage manipulation is good, whether it's just damage that you take more of, or you deal more of, or take less of, in the case of Assault Vest. So that's good. And then as far as the customizable moves go, this Pokemon has a very deep, good move pool. So let's talk about it. Draco Meteor is another option here if you don't want to go Dragon Pulse, you don't want to go Roar Time, you want in the middle damage, Draco Meteor, and being able to, like, if you're not expecting to Dynamax this Pokemon very frequently, Draco Meteor is really good because you'll be able to Draco Meteor, and then once you lose stats, you can switch it out, which is very good. You also have Ice Beam and Blizzard for ice coverage, Thunderbolt and Thunder for electric coverage, Flamethrower and Fire Blast for fire coverage, Power Gem for rock coverage, and Body Press as more of a utility move after a couple of max steel spikes. Being able to use Body Press can be actually really devastating to your opponent. And then last but not least, I have Protect here. If you don't want to use Trick Room, Protect is always a good spot there to use as well. So, yeah, Protect's good. Anyway, that is about all I have for the movesets and stuff here, and the movesets and builds. So let's go ahead and talk about these synergetic Pokemon and then move on. So first off, I have Lando and Arcanine. They're kind of in tandem. They both have access to Intimidate, which is good for damage deafening. They have the move Bulldoze, which is going to be our main utility for breaking our weakness policy. Both of them have Bulldoze, which hits all Pokemon and then lowers their speed by 1, but it is a ground type move with a low base power, which is very good for our Dialga, especially on something like Arcanine, where you can invest into its special attack, or make it Timid Nature and then make it do very little damage with Bulldoze. So that can be really good if you're trying to self-proc Dialga. Definitely Bulldoze is a great option. Lando is also very good, obviously, for other reasons. And then they both are very good for other reasons, but then they also have the self-proc weakness policy, which is cool. Next, we have Tapu Fini. Tapu Fini seems weird because, Dialga is probably not going to be getting status very frequently. You usually use Tapu Fini for a team that doesn't want to get burned, but for this team, you could go Dialga, you could go Tapu Fini. Tapu Fini, let me explain it first. Tapu Fini destroys fighting and ground Pokemon, which are both of Dialga's weaknesses, being able to hit super effective damage with Muddy Water, Ice Beam, and even Dazzling Gleam. So that's why that's there. It can also sit there and Calm Mind up while your opponent's attacking your Dialga, which is pretty cool. And it's also a mid-speed Pokemon, which works really well for Trick Room strats. So it works just across the board there. Obviously, if you're using this team, you should also have like Glastrier on the team, and then maybe like a real Trick Room setter that's like typically going to be doing that, like Dusclops or Porygon 2. Porygon 2 actually looks stronger in the meta right now than Dusclops because of how much dark there is going around. Not only the new restricteds that we got, but also the old, the Urshifu and Galar Moltres. So, yeah, a really good starting place for this team would be like Dialga, the Tapu Fini, Glastrier, and P2. Maybe that would be a really good place to start. So, yeah. Couple of different synergies there. Anyway, that is it for this. Let's go ahead and talk about speed tiers. So, like I said, this Pokemon is pretty mid-speed, hitting that 85 at negative speed tier, or 110 at neutral speed tier. 110, it will be on the same speed tier as Ho-Oh, Groudon, Kyogre, Reshiram, and Zekrom, although most of those will typically involve a little bit of speed in their investment tree, so probably going to be outsped by all of those. But, not always. Kyogre and Groudon are known to have mixed sets, potentially using no speed pretty frequently, and Reshiram and Zekrom could actually go into HP and or like bulk and special attack as well, so you could be on the same speed tier as all those Pokemon. However, if you are at 85 speed, you're also going to be down here with Kyogre and Groudon if they are using 0 speed, which, can happen. If you're not, you are at 110, which is going to be outspeeding things like Rotom Wash and DDF, Rillaboom, Cresselia, Tapu Fini most of the time. All of those Pokemon, some of them will have a speed investment sometimes, especially Rotom Wash. Rotom Wash is pretty infamous for having speed investment most of the time, but not always. And of course, Tyranitar down there at 81 is going to be outsped by all these Pokemon as well, which is good. Next, we have Pokemon that are going to be outspeeding our 110 Dialga or 85 Dialga, which are things like Lunala and Solgaleo, which usually will have more investment into speed, so they'll usually be higher up, but I still wanted to mention that they could be at 117, which is still outspeeding though. Groudon, Kyogre at max speed, Lando T at max speed. You also have Excadrill in a plethora of Pokemon in that 160 to 220 range, which is very, very filled up right now as we are in a very top-heavy speed format. Dialga is going to be slower. That's why it is kind of, really good to have Trick Room either on the Dialga or on a Pokemon next to Dialga. So, a couple of good options there. Anyway, that is about it for speed tiers. Let's go ahead and talk about some damage calcs. So, the first 4 are going to be offensive, and these last 2 are going to be defensive. So, let's talk about it. So, +2 from Weakness Policy, hitting 252 plus special attack, Dialga Max Quake, into 236 HP, 236 plus special defense, Incineroar, which is the default Incineroar, hitting 141 to 166%, which is guaranteed OHKO into that spread with the +2 from Weakness Policy. So that is obviously very good, but it's not always going to be easy to proc. Also, if you use Life Orb, you will be taking an OHKO sometimes, but it is pretty unlikely as it is less than 50%. So, yeah. Next, we have +2 from Weakness Policy, 252 special attack, plus Nature, Dialga Max Steel Spike into 244 HP, 108 special defense, which is the most used currently on Pikalytics, hitting 112 to 132%, guaranteed OHKO. With the aid of Weakness Policy, we are guaranteed OHKOing the Tapu Fini, which is a top 3 Pokemon currently, so that is good to know. Next, we have 252 plus special attack Dialga Max Quake into a 4 HP Regieleki, hitting 198 to 234.6%, which is guaranteed OHKO with the aid of 0 held items. This is without Life Orb, this is without Adamant Orb, this is without Weakness Policy or Helping Hand or anything like that. We are just taking an OHKO naturally on Regieleki most of the time, which is very good. Now, it might have bulk and go for a light screen right off the bat, because some people are still using, screen Regieleki, which is a very, very strong method, by the way. So, yeah, that could happen. But if you're up against just base Regieleki just trying to do damage, you are taking it out, which is pretty good. Next, we have 252 plus special attack Adamant Orb Dialga Max Quake into a 4 HP Zacian Crown, hitting 114 to 135%, which is guaranteed OHKO. This is a great matchup, however, it does still have close combat, which can do a lot of damage and most likely take a knockout on the non-Dynamaxed Adamant Orb, or the non-Dynamaxed Dialga. So, yeah, it can be a good matchup, but it can also be a pretty tough matchup if you don't play it right. Next, we have 4 attack Kartana Max Knuckle into a 252 HP, 4 defense Dynamaxed Dialga, hitting 23 to 28%, which is an 87% chance to 4-hit KO. Yeah, we're not too worried about that. Kartana Max Knuckling could definitely get out of hand, and it sucks because we don't have anything that hits it really, really hard unless you use something like Flamethrower. So if you are pretty scared of Kartana, you can put on some good coverage that just takes it out. So, yeah. Next, we have +2 from Weakness Policy, 252 plus attack Groudon Precipice Blades into the 252 HP, 4 defense Dynamaxed Dialga, hitting 77.2 to 91.3%, which is guaranteed to hit KO. So we are guaranteed to live the Precipice Blades after a Weakness Policy. However, it can just max and then hit a single targeting max move, max earth power. What can I think of that? Max ground into our Dialga, and it will then take an OHKO, guaranteed OHKO. So yeah, that's pretty rough. If they Dynamax the Groudon, be quaking in your boots because it's max quaking you, and it'll die. Anyway, that is it for damage calcs. Let's talk about single spot rally real quick before I end the video. So, Dialga, nothing's big is going to change here. We're just going to be a Life Orb pressure build here as well. Stealth Rock because it's really, really strong in singles. And then also Draco Meteor, Fire Blast, and Thunder for coverage. You can always switch that up some if you want to go for something else. Also, Flash Cannon should probably be on there somewhere. And then potentially, like it just depends on your team comp, right? So, depending on your team comp, this Pokemon has an insane amount of coverage moves, so you can always switch that up if you want to. But yeah, that's what we have here for Dialga. It's pretty good. Special attack at 252, 4 leftover into special defense, and 252 plus into speed, just to be as fast as possible for that Life Orb sweeping. Pretty good stuff. It's going to be a Dynamax. That's why the Fire Blast and Thunder. Yeah, you go like Stealth Rock, and then the next turn you Dynamax, and then you have like crazy big moves like Fire Blast, Thunder, and Draco Meteor that turn into really strong max moves. So, yeah. Anyway, that is it for the video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, leave a like, comment, subscribe. Makes a huge difference. Go down into the comment section and say, what do you want to see next? What kind of guide do you want to see next? And also tell me what you're playing right now in Series 8. What are you enjoying the most? And, yeah, go down into the description box as well in the description. Click on all those links and follow all those pages if you support the channel further. Thank you. Have a great month. Goodbye.